Your 5-cent coins could be worth a small fortune. From the classic Buffalo nickels to the Lewis and Clark and Jefferson nickels, rare dates, mint errors, and high-grade strikes have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. These coins tell America's story, and some are pure treasure for collectors. Check your nickels. You might be holding history worth real money. The 2004 D. Jefferson nickel, known as the keelboat design, is one of the most fascinating coins in modern U.S. history. A piece that not only tells a story of exploration and discovery, but also one that carries a hidden twist of minting errors that have turned a common 5-cent coin into a prized collectible. While millions of these coins were struck and circulated across the United States, a small handful emerged with mistakes so intriguing that collectors today pay hundreds or even thousands of dollars to own them. It's a story of art, innovation, and imperfection all rolled into one nickel. The story begins with the Westward Journey nickel series, a special redesign project launched by the United States Mint in 2004 and 2005 to commemorate the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition. The series honored the daring journey that helped shape America's westward expansion. For decades, the Jefferson nickel had featured the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his home, Monticello, on the reverse. But the early 2000s marked a change, a chance to celebrate America's exploration heritage with new designs. In 2004, two special designs were released. The first, the piece metal nickel, paid tribute to the original Indian piece metals carried by the explorers. The second, introduced later that same year, was the keelboat nickel, inspired by the sturdy vessel that carried Lewis, Clark, and their corps of discovery up the Missouri River. Designed by U.S. Mint sculptor-engraver Al Maletsky, the keelboat nickel's reverse depicts the famous boat cutting through the water, with two members of the expedition, one at the helm, one manning the sail, symbolizing strength, teamwork, and progress. The inscriptions United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, Lewis and Clark, and 5 cents frame the design. On the obverse, sculptor Felix Schlag's classic portrait of Jefferson remained, connecting the old and the new. The Denver Mint struck millions of these 2004 D keelboat nickels. Yet, despite the precision of modern minting technology, a few error coins slipped through the production lines. These mistakes transformed ordinary circulation pieces into extraordinary collectibles, and today, they're among the most talked about modern errors in the Jefferson nickel series. One of the most notable and sought-after errors on the 2004 D keelboat nickel is the double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives two slightly misaligned impressions during the engraving process. The result? Visible doubling on certain design elements, often on the words E Pluribus Unum, Lewis and Clark, or United States of America. In some cases, you can even see doubling on Jefferson's eye or the finer details of the boat itself. Strong double die examples are rare, and depending on the clarity of the doubling and the coin's condition, these can range from $75 in circulated grades to several $100s in uncirculated condition. Coins certified by grading companies like PCGS or NGC with prominent doubling have sold for well over $500, proving that even modern nickels can pack a surprising punch in value. Another fascinating type of 2004 D keelboat error is the off-center strike. When the blank planchet isn't properly aligned between the dies, the design lands off to one side, leaving a blank crescent of unstruck metal. These errors make for visually stunning pieces. Minor off-center strikes, say 5% or 10% off, may fetch $40 to $60. But coins struck 40% to 60% off-center, especially if the date and mint mark remain visible, can command $200 or more. Collectors prize them because each off-center error is unique. No two are ever exactly alike. Then there are broad strike errors, which occur when the collar, the ring that normally keeps the coin's shape during striking, fails to engage properly. The pressure of the strike causes the nickel to expand outward, appearing larger and slightly flattened. A broad strike 2004 D keelboat can sell for anywhere from $75 to $150, depending on condition and eye appeal. Clipped planchet errors also make occasional appearances in this series. During the minting process, coin blanks are punched out of large metal sheets. If the sheet isn't properly aligned during punching, some blanks may be cut too close to the edge, resulting in a coin with a curved or straight bite missing from the rim. These clips can be small and subtle or large and dramatic. A 2004 D keelboat nickel with a small clip might bring $25 to $75, while a large, cleanly clipped example with a full date and mint mark can sell for over $200. One of the most visually striking and desirable error types for the 2004 D keelboat nickel is the die crack or die break error. These occur when the metal die begins to fracture after striking thousands of coins. When this happens, the crack transfers onto the coin's surface as a raised line, or, if a piece of the die completely breaks away, a cud appears, a blob-like raised area near the rim. Collectors love these because they're essentially mint-made signatures of aging equipment. Depending on the size and location of the crack or cud, a 2004 D keelboat with such an error can be worth anywhere from $30 to $250 or more. There are also known examples of lamination errors from this series. A lamination error happens when impurities or poor metal bonding cause the coin's surface layer to peel, flake, or bubble. On a keelboat nickel, this might appear as a jagged or raised area near the boat design or Jefferson's portrait. These coins are one of a kind and can bring $40 to $150 depending on their appearance. But perhaps the most dramatic and valuable errors come from wrong planchet strikes. This rare occurrence happens when a planchet intended for another denomination, like a penny, dime, or even a foreign coin, accidentally finds its way into the nickel press. Imagine a keelboat nickel struck on a copper cent planchet. It would appear smaller, thinner, and reddish in color. Such coins are exceedingly rare and can sell for thousands of dollars at auction. A verified 2004 D keelboat struck on a cent planchet could easily command $2,000 to $4,000 or more, depending on condition and certification. The intrigue surrounding the 2004 D keelboat nickel errors isn't just about value, it's about history and craftsmanship. Even in an era of high-speed, computerized minting technology, the fact that human oversight and mechanical quirks can still create collectible errors fascinates numismatists. Each flawed coin becomes a small window into the minting process, capturing a fleeting moment when technology and imperfection intersected. What makes the keelboat nickel even more special is its historical symbolism. The design represents a turning point in America's story, the Lewis and Clark expedition pushing into the unknown, mapping new territories, and opening the door to westward expansion. The errors, in a poetic way, mirror that journey of exploration, unpredictable, full of surprises, and rich with discovery. For collectors, finding a 2004 D keelboat nickel error in the wild is a thrilling experience. Many still circulate undetected in rolls or jars of change, waiting to be spotted by a sharp-eyed hobbyist. When checking your own coins, pay attention to small details, the edges, lettering, and surfaces. Look for doubling on the reverse inscriptions, misaligned designs, or areas where the rim looks unusual. Even a minor error can make your coin worth far more than 5 cents. In terms of value, typical 2004 D keelboat nickels are worth face value unless in pristine mint state condition, in which case they might bring $1 to $5. But once an error enters the picture, prices rise sharply. Common minor errors like small clips or light doubling can sell for $50 to $100. Strong double die, broad strike, or off-center examples often range from $150 to $400. The rarest errors, such as dramatic off-centers, wrong planchet strikes, or large die breaks, can exceed $1,000 and occasionally reach beyond $2,000 in high grade. For serious collectors, condition is everything. Coins graded MS65 or higher by PCGS or NGC fetch the strongest prices. Proof-like strikes, full steps on Monticello, on earlier designs, and sharp detail all add to the appeal. While the 2004 D keelboat nickel may seem modern, it has already earned its place as a classic in the error coin world. Ultimately, the charm of the 2004 D Jefferson nickel keelboat lies in its blend of beauty, history, and surprise. It captures the adventurous spirit of Lewis and Clark, while also reminding us that even in the precision-driven modern era, mistakes can create masterpieces. Every flaw tells a story of a moment when a machine hiccuped, a die shifted, or a planchet slipped, forever turning a routine coin into a rare and valuable collectible. In 2005, the United States Mint released one of the most visually striking and historically meaningful coins in modern circulation. The Western Waters Jefferson nickel, part of the Westward Journey series commemorating the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition. The coin symbolized courage, exploration, and discovery, But beneath its beautiful design and patriotic story lies another narrative that has fascinated coin collectors for nearly 2 decades. The tale of the 2005 Western Waters Jefferson nickel-era coins, some of which have become incredibly valuable, with a few examples selling for thousands and others estimated to be worth over $20,000 depending on condition and rarity. To understand the magic behind this coin, we have to look at its background. After more than 60 years of the same design, the U.S. Mint decided in 2004 to reimagine the Jefferson nickel in honor of the 200th anniversary of the Lewis and Clark expedition. The traditional Monticello reverse was temporarily replaced with new reverse designs reflecting different stages of the journey. The 2005 Western Waters nickel, also known as the Ocean in View nickel, was the final release in that series before the return of Monticello in 2006. On the obverse side of the coin is a new image of Thomas Jefferson, designed by Joe Fitzgerald, featuring a more forward-facing portrait with the inscription Liberty in Jefferson's own handwriting. On the reverse, engraved by Joe Fitzgerald and sculpted by Don Everhart, the design captures the moment when the Lewis and Clark expedition reached the Pacific Ocean in 1805. The inscription Ocean in View, the JOY, reflects the excitement of discovery, immortalized in words from William Clark's journal. Beneath it, the design shows a view of the rugged western coastline, symbolizing the end of their long journey. While hundreds of millions of these coins were struck in 2005, only a handful emerged with significant errors that transformed ordinary 5-cent pieces into numismatic treasures. The Denver Mint, in particular, produced a few error coins that have since become the talk of collectors and enthusiasts. One of the most fascinating 2005 Western Waters errors is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin blank is not perfectly aligned between the dies during the striking process. When this happens, parts of Jefferson's portrait or the ocean in view design shift dramatically toward one side, leaving a blank crescent on the opposite edge. Depending on how far the strike is off-center, the coin's value can increase significantly. A lightly off-center example might fetch $150 to $300, but coins with 40% or more of the design missing can command prices of over $1,000. The rarest and most eye-catching off-center errors, especially those retaining a full visible date, have sold at auction for more than $4,000. Another standout error type from the 2005 Western Waters nickel is the double die. This happens when the die used to strike the coin receives more than one impression during its creation, slightly misaligned each time. On the coin, this results in visible doubling on the letters or details of the design. Some 2005 nickels show noticeable doubling in the inscriptions Ocean in View or Liberty, giving the coin a shadow-like effect that's easy to see with the naked eye. These double die examples are among the most desirable 2005 Jefferson nickels known. Depending on the clarity of the doubling, they can sell for $500 to several $1,000s, with uncirculated, sharply struck specimens bringing in even higher prices. Then there are the wrong planchet errors, which are among the rarest and most valuable mistakes from the 2005 Western Waters nickel series. During the minting process, sometimes a blank intended for another denomination, like a penny, dime, or even a foreign coin, accidentally gets fed into the press. A few 2005 nickels were struck on copper penny planchets, giving them a distinct reddish tone instead of the standard silvery gray. These unusual copper-colored nickels stand out immediately, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar for them. One such 2005 nickel struck on a cent planchet sold for over $18,000 at auction, while another in mint state condition exceeded $22,000 due to its immaculate preservation and sharp strike. Another eye-catching variety is the broad strike error. Normally, coins are struck within a collar that keeps their edges perfectly round. If the collar malfunctions or is missing, the coin spreads out during striking, giving it a larger, flatter appearance. These broad-struck 2005 nickels often have a soft, stretched rim and a distorted design but retain all their original details. Mint state examples of this error can fetch $300 to $700, and those with more dramatic expansions have sold for over $1,000.1. Particularly interesting 2005 error involves the clipped planchet. During the preparation of coin blanks, overlapping punches can result in planchets missing small curved portions of metal. When struck, the resulting coin has a visible crescent shaped bite missing from its edge. These clipped planchet 2005D nickels, especially when verified by grading services like PCGS or NGC, typically bring $200 to $400 depending on the size and location of the clip. But the rarest and most breathtaking discoveries among the 2005D Western Waters nickels are double denomination errors. These occur when a coin is struck on top of an already minted coin of another denomination. Imagine a Jefferson nickel design impressed over an earlier Roosevelt dime, the blending of two coins into one. These pieces are so rare that when one surfaced, collectors went into a frenzy. A verified 2005D nickel overstruck on a 2005 Roosevelt dime planchet sold for over $20,000, proving how extraordinary minting mishaps can turn everyday change into fortune. Adding to the intrigue are a handful of die crack and die clash errors found on 2005D nickels. Die cracks occur when the striking die develops fractures, leaving raised lines on the finished coin. On some Western Waters nickels, cracks run across Jefferson's face or the waves on the reverse. Die clash errors, on the other hand, happen when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a blank planchet in between, leaving ghostly impressions of one side's design on the other. A few 2005D nickels with visible traces of the obverse on the reverse, and vice versa, have surfaced, selling for $250 to $600. Collectors love the 2005D Western Waters nickel, not only for its design but also for its symbolism. It represents discovery, the same spirit that drove Lewis and Clark westward, and the same curiosity that drives coin collectors today. It's a coin about exploration, both historically and numismatically. Each error variant becomes a piece of that journey, a unique artifact that reminds us of how beauty can emerge from imperfection. Auction houses have repeatedly highlighted these coins for their rarity and appeal. One of the most publicized sales was a 2005D Western Waters nickel struck on a foreign planchet that weighed slightly less than usual and had a duller tone. Because of its uniqueness, the coin drew intense bidding and eventually sold for more than $19,500. Another example, featuring a strong double die on the reverse and preserved in mint state red-brown toning, went for just over $6,000. What makes these coins even more exciting is that they were struck during an era when the mint was introducing new technology and design methods. The early 2000s marked a transition period, with changes in die making and increased production speed. These factors likely contributed to the increased rate of minor and major minting anomalies, a silver lining for collectors searching for modern errors. And while some of these valuable coins have been discovered in rolls or collections, others have shown up in the most unexpected places. A jar of change, a bank withdrawal, or even a parking meter. Stories continue to circulate about lucky individuals who unknowingly carried around small fortunes in their pockets until they looked closer. That's the beauty of coins like the 2005D Western Waters Jefferson nickel error. It reminds us that the most valuable things can hide in plain sight. You might see one in your spare change, its design catching the light just a little differently. Maybe the rim looks wider than usual, or Jefferson's portrait seems slightly off-center. Maybe the surface has a copper glow instead of the usual nickel sheen. Those tiny details are what separate an ordinary coin from one worth thousands, or even over $20,000 at auction. So if you come across a 2005D nickel with that bold ocean in view, reverse, take a second look before tossing it into a vending machine. Examine its edges, its alignment, its tone. Check for doubling, off-center strikes, cracks, or any sign that it's different. Because among those millions of coins struck in 2005, a few carry the mark of imperfection that makes them extraordinary. The 2005D Western Waters Jefferson nickel is more than just a coin. It's a piece of American exploration, a tribute to discovery, and a testament to how errors can create history. It captures the spirit of adventure that once drove explorers across unknown lands, and now drives collectors to uncover hidden treasures in the most unlikely of places. In 2005, the U.S. Mint did something extraordinary. It brought back a sense of adventure, a celebration of history, and a powerful tribute to one of America's greatest journeys, the Lewis and Clark expedition. That year's nickel wasn't just a coin. It was part of a story, the Westward Journey nickel series, honoring the explorers who ventured into the unknown 2 centuries earlier. And among those 2005 nickels, struck at mints across the country, one design stood out: the buffalo and the keelboat designs, both beautifully detailed, both symbolic of exploration, resilience, and discovery. But as history and chance would have it, the minting of these coins also gave rise to a new kind of discovery, the 2005 Buffalo nickel and the keelboat nickel errors, coins that would later be found to have mistakes so rare that they transformed a 5-cent piece into a collectible worth thousands. To understand why these error coins are so special, we first have to step back to the idea behind the Westward Journey series. Between 2004 and 2005, the Mint issued a set of nickels to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the Lewis and Clark expedition and the Louisiana Purchase. For decades, the Jefferson nickel had remained largely unchanged, but this limited series broke tradition with stunning, historical designs that captured the nation's frontier spirit. In 2005, two different designs were released. The first was the keelboat nickel, depicting the boat used by Lewis and Clark on their journey up the Missouri River. The reverse design by Al Maletsky shows the small vessel sailing across the open waters, a symbol of courage and progress. The second was the Buffalo nickel, designed by Joe Fitzgerald, featuring a proud American bison, an homage to the classic 1913 design by James Earl Fraser. Each coin carried Jefferson's modernized portrait on the obverse, designed by Joe Fitzgerald as well, showing a forward-facing Jefferson, a bold new image for a bold new era. The Philadelphia Mint, marked with a P, and the Denver Mint, marked D, produced hundreds of millions of these coins. But even with all the technology, machinery, and precision involved, mistakes happened. Mistakes that would end up making some of these coins far more valuable than anyone could have imagined. The most famous among them is the speared bison error found on the 2005 Buffalo nickel. On this particular coin, a die gouge runs directly through the body of the bison, making it appear as if the animal has been pierced by a spear. It's one of the most dramatic and visually striking errors ever to appear on a modern U.S. coin. This single die gouge turned a simple 5-cent coin into a collector's dream. The first discovery of this error sent shockwaves through the numismatic world, with collectors racing to check their change and bank rolls for a glimpse of the speared bison. The error was caused by a deep scratch or gouge on the die used to strike the coins. Because dies are used to strike thousands of pieces before being replaced, the same gouge appeared on every coin struck by that damaged die. Once word got out, the hunt began, and soon collectors were willing to pay hundreds, and later thousands, for a verified speared bison error. Early examples in mint state condition sold for over $1,000, and pristine uncirculated coins certified by PCGS and NGC later crossed the $5,000 mark. Today, some of the finest known examples have fetched well over $10,000 at auction. But the speared bison isn't the only valuable error from that year. The 2005 keelboat nickel also produced several fascinating mistakes that caught the attention of collectors. Off-center strikes, double strikes, and broad strikes are among the most visually captivating. An off-center strike shows the design shifted noticeably to one side, leaving part of the blank surface visible. The more off-center the strike, while still showing the date and mint mark, the more valuable it becomes. A 2005 keelboat nickel struck 50% off-center with a full date visible sold for over $1,500 at auction. Another intriguing error involves die clashes, when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like impressions of Jefferson's portrait faintly visible behind the keelboat design, or vice versa. These coins have a haunting, layered look, as if two images are fighting for space on a single surface. Depending on clarity and preservation, die clash errors from the 2005 keelboat series can range from $100 to over $600. A few 2005 nickels were even struck on the wrong planchets. A rare occurrence that happens when a blank intended for a different coin, such as a dime or foreign coin, slips into the press. One confirmed example of a 2005 keelboat nickel struck on a dime planchet sold for more than $4,000. Its smaller size and silver tone making it instantly recognizable as something extraordinary. The story doesn't end there. Some 2005 Buffalo nickels show doubling, known as double die errors, particularly visible on Jefferson's eye, nose, or the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." These doubled features give the coin a slightly blurry, doubled appearance and add hundreds to its value. Even minor examples can sell for $100 to $300, while stronger, more defined doubling can exceed $1,000 when authenticated by grading companies. The appeal of these coins isn't just their rarity. It's the fact that they were minted during a moment of historical reflection. The Westward Journey series connected Americans to their past, celebrating exploration and discovery. And ironically, those same themes mirrored what collectors experienced when they began discovering these rare errors. Each discovery was its own expedition, each find a moment of triumph. Collectors today still talk about the rush of finding that first speared bison nickel in their pocket change. Stories circulated of people withdrawing boxes of nickels from banks just to search through them. A coin dealer in Texas found one in a roll he'd purchased for face value and later sold it for $3,500. Another collector from Ohio discovered a near-perfect mint state example and sold it at auction for over $8,000. These weren't ancient coins or gold pieces, just 5-cent coins that happened to carry a story written in metal. The keelboat and buffalo nickels from 2005 serve as reminders that even in modern times, treasure can still be found in everyday currency. Most of these coins remain common and worth only face value, but the few with dramatic mint errors continue to rise in value as collectors recognize their importance. As time passes and pristine examples disappear into private collections, prices for high-grade errors have only increased. Some of the most pristine speared bison coins have now been estimated to be worth well over $20,000 in today's market, a staggering number for a coin minted less than 2 decades ago. And beyond the value, there's the excitement, that feeling of discovery that every collector knows. You might walk into a coffee shop, pay for your drink, and get a handful of change. Maybe you don't even look twice at the nickels mixed in. But what if one of them isn't like the others? What if, among those dull silvery coins, one holds a tiny scratch, a line across the bison's back that turns out to be the mark of history? What if that 5-cent coin is worth more than a new car? That's what makes the 2005 Buffalo and keelboat nickels so fascinating. They remind us that sometimes history hides in plain sight, in your pocket, in your drawer, in that jar of change sitting untouched for years. For collectors, the 2005 errors combine the perfect mix of modern relevance, artistic design, and genuine rarity. These are not obscure 19th century misstrikes that require a magnifying glass to appreciate. They're bold, visible, and meaningful to anyone who understands the story they represent. The speared bison's dramatic gouge, the off-center keelboats, the ghostly die clashes, all tell the same story. Even in the precision-driven world of modern minting, human and mechanical error can still create something truly remarkable. So, if you ever find a 2005 nickel, take a closer look before you spend it. Is it the keelboat with a shifted hull? The buffalo with the mysterious spear mark through its back? A simple magnifying glass could turn your curiosity into discovery. Because somewhere out there, another collector is still searching, still hoping to find that next rare error, the next treasure born from imperfection. In the end, the 2005 buffalo and keelboat nickels are more than just coins. They're pieces of art, pieces of history, and, for a lucky few, pieces of fortune. From 5 cents to thousands, even over $20,000 in top condition, that's not just a profit. That's a testament to how even a simple coin, born of error, can capture the imagination of a nation still in love with adventure.